Hey guys, welcome back to Cinephellas. I am Kevin, and I'm here to discuss some new films in the segment I call Seven with Kevin, where I play catch up with all the movies I missed in 2025. For today's video, I'll be looking at some films that star some of my favorite female actresses, one that I think should have been nominated for an Academy Award, and finally, one of the best films that I have seen from 2025 and is probably going to be on the list somewhere when I finish all of this up. Either way, let's get started. So my first film is The Testament of Anne Lee, and it is something that I was looking forward to when it was announced. It is from the creators of The Brutalist, and I've made a video on The Brutalist, and we've talked about The Brutalist in the site. I love that film. I've watched that film many times since it's like basically been released. Um, so in The Brutalist, Brady Corbet, he directed it, and then him and his partner slash wife, Mona Fastholt, they wrote the screenplay. But in this movie, we have Mona Fastholt being elevated to the director's chair while Brady Corbet is helping co-write the screenplay. And what is this one about? This is a true story about Anne Lee, who was part of the Shaker movement in America where she was thought to be the second coming of Christ, inhabited in a woman's body. She would sing and she would dance in her sermons, and that is the justification of how this movie was sold as a musical. The project has the same old school feel and kind of presentation of the brutalist, and playing the title role is Amanda Seyfried, who carries this thing with ease. This girl can sing. We know we've seen many things where she's saying Mamma Mia and I'm blanking on the name. Oh, Les Miserables. You know, she can sing and she can act, and she does pretty well in this film. But this was a film that I felt kind of promised something special and gave us something kind of linear and mundane, where it should have been, just as lively as the musical parts of this film, which are really good. The songs and the music are done by Daniel Bloomberg, who won the score Oscar for The Brutalist. And the songs are good. I like them. Specifically, the song that plays over the end credits was very good. It just lacked the awe and the excitement that The Brutalist had. It's not a bad film. It's not a bad film. Just one that should have been a little more stronger, in my opinion, instead of kind of down the middle. And with that, I'm going to give this one 2.5 out of 5 Amanda Seyfried hairpieces. Okay, my next film, yeah, if you compare it to Anne Lee is like up here, and this movie would be just like below where the camera, where you can see on the camera. Cleaner. I keep saying the cleaner, but it's cleaner. And this one's a stinker. And that's a shame because I am a big fan of Daisy Ridley. I have backed her up. I watch everything she's in. I think that there is something very special in her. If you've seen her audition tape for The Force Awakens, it just shows an actress who is capable of a lot more than she has presented and given. If you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube. Please check it out. Here, Ridley is playing a window cleaner at a high-rise building that is soon taken over by a criminal group led by Clive Owen. Ridley's character does not enter that building for almost half the film. And even when she enters that building, the movie never loses its bland, boring, and predictable nature. This is a crappy Die Hard ripoff. It does not work in any way. Even Ridley herself, is bad. And that hurts me to say because I like Ridley. Like, I just said it in the beginning of this film. Yeah, she's sleepwalking through this film, and I don't blame her because this one's a stinker. Daisy, please, please get a new agent. And with that, I'm gonna give this one with 1.5 out of 5. I still love you, Daisy Hairpieces. Okay, my next film is Christie, and it stars Sydney Sweeney. And I find Sydney Sweeney's career very interesting. Obviously she is very beautiful, but I think under all that beauty is an actress who never phones it in. She may not be the best on screen on a project, but she always tries, and I admire that. Now, I don't think she is a big enough star to basically market and build a movie around, not yet. But it's Hollywood, and maybe they wanted to take a chance on her. She wanted to bring the story of Christy Martin to the big screen. Martin is a world famous boxer who, kicked ass and take names, and she was unstoppable. But unfortunately, her home life was not really that good. She was married to an abusive man who also acted as her husband. So there's a lot of that in this movie, showing like the behind the scenes of who she was. This is a typical trope for a tough girl movie, and the movie doesn't really move beyond that. It doesn't really do anything interesting with it. It's bland, it's vanilla, but as I said, Sweeney is committed to this role, and she's not bad. She's good. I think if she had a zippier script, she could have done a lot more because she moves like a fighter, and she doesn't pretty herself up because sometimes actresses don't want to disappear too much, into the character because they don't want to ruin their image. Especially Sweeney, who is the face of American Eagle Jeans and is a model and does a lot of stuff for various companies. But no, she basically dives into the character physically. She's wearing a bad wig. She's hiding all those attributes that we know Sydney Sweeney for, and it is a good performance. I also like the performance of Merritt Weaver, who plays her toxic mother. Very good antagonist for the film. I thought she was a better antagonist than the husband, who was played by Ben Foster. And also, Chad L. Coleman plays Don King, who ran into Christy Martin in real life. His performance as Don King is a lot of fun. It adds a lot of energy and oomph to a film that desperately needs it. Again, just like Anne Lee, this one isn't a bad movie. It's just forgettable. But if you are a fan of Sydney, Sweeney, Christy Martin, or just curious about it, try it. It's not an awful film to sit through, and I'm going to give this one 2.5 out of 5. Christy Martin hairpieces. Jennifer Lawrence should have been nominated for Die My Love, which is my next film. She is completely feral here and is both uncomfortable to watch, but also a joy too. This is directed by Lynn Ramsey, whose films, some of the films are We Need to Talk About Kevin and You Were Really Never Here. They're very polarizing films and they aren't commercial sells. This specific film, Die My Love, flopped very hard, even though movie was basically promoting it to hell, especially to get Jennifer Lawrence in the Oscar spot, which I think she should have gotten. But I admire Lynn Ramsey for sticking to her vision and not budging on a lot of what is presented here. And let me tell you something: a lot of what is here is very messed up, and it does go to very weird places. The basis of the film, the grounding of the film, it is about a woman who basically conflicts mentally with motherhood and all the stress that comes along with it. And yeah, it gets really messed up. You know, um, we have some incredible work from Seamus McGarthy, who is a cinematographer who basically aids Lynn Ramsey's vision with a lot of metaphor, a lot of strange shots. We have Robert Pattinson here as her husband, giving a lot of support to Jennifer Lawrence. The actress is brave and has no qualms with showing the results of mental health. Yeah, she really dives into this in every way possible, but she is a joy to watch. Warning, it is not a commercial film. Like I said, Lynn Ramsey really doesn't do that. She does what she wants. If you are able to get through it, and it is a strange film, it is very, very good, and it is something that is unforgettable, something that I have been thinking about since I've seen it, and something that, as I said, and I keep saying in these videos, Kate Hudson shouldn't have got that nomination. I think Jennifer Lawrence should have been the fifth slot, but this movie is too weird, and I understand why the Academy ignored it. But on this side of the camera, I loved it. I'm gonna give it 4.5 out of 5 J Law hair pieces. Okay, so my next film, before we move on to the last two, is kind of something from the part of my list that you probably never heard of, and it is called Sacramento. In this film, director and writer Michael Agarano tells the story of a man unwilling to grow up, the character he plays, and his friend who is stuck in a marriage and is supposed to be a father, and that's Mike Serra. The two go on a trip. They discover stuff about each other and also stuff about themselves. You've seen that in 100 movies. Agrano as the lead character, he is insufferable. He is someone who irritated me, but that is the point of the character. He's a life avoider whose carefree lifestyle is turned upside down once he finds out that he is a father to a baby that has already been born. Kristen Stewart in the glorified cameo plays Michael Cera's wife and does pretty good work. But it is Michael Cera that I really enjoyed in this movie. is moving away from what we know him as George Michael or Scott Pilgrim or the super bad guy, that meek shy guy. He still retains that, and it does work. There was a movie from 2023 I reviewed called The Adults, where he kind of mixes that shyness with kind of like the new direction he's taking his career. I really admire him taking chances. If you want another movie from 2025 that was really good, check out The Phoenician Scheme. It is by Wes Anderson, and Michael Cera was in it, and I thought he was fantastic, especially where that character goes. This specific movie, Sacramento, is on Hulu. It was a nice way to pass 90 minutes. It isn't life-changing, but it is a decent attempt at a lifelong trope in films of a shy guy and an irresponsible person. People you think, why are they friends? But by the end of this film, it is wrapped up nicely, and I'm going to give this one 2.5 out of 5 Michael Cera hair pieces. My next one is No Other Choice. Park Chan Wook directed my favorite film of 2022, Decision to Leave. If you have not seen that one, go out and please watch it. I love that film. I will defend it. It is a fantastic murder mystery. But I'm here to talk about Decision to Leave, and it is about a man desperate to regain the lifestyle that his family had that he provided. When he loses his job, he basically tries to get a new job, but there are always three people ahead of him in any job interview. So what does he do? He decides to go out and kill them. And that is the basis of this film, and I don't really want to go into it because I want you to watch this film. It is a fantastic one. The cast is admirable, the production is beautiful, the cinematography. This guy knows how to shoot a film, and the themes are tragic. If you have ever been fired, thankfully I've never been fired, but I've known people who've been fired, and there's that depression, that doubt and that uncertainty, and I think this movie captures that very well. Again, I think this should have been nominated for Best International Film of the Year. It is a great, great film. It is available to rent. It is subtitled. If you don't like subtitle films, you're not going to get into it, but it does pack an emotional wallop and is extremely well made. Please go check this one out, and I'm going to give this one 4 out of 5 Wook hair pieces. Okay, finally, my last film. I saved the best for last. It is a movie called Twinless, and it is one of my favorites of the year I've watched. In Twinless, we have Dylan O'Brien playing twins who are separated through tragedy. This is where the emotionally stunted Dennis comes into play. Dennis is played by James Sweeney, who also wrote and directed this film. Dennis goes to a support group for people who have lost their twin, and he forms a bond with O'Brien's Roman. What starts off as a white lie kind of snowballs into something deeper and a lot darker than I expected. I'm not going to go really into the plot of this film because, like me, I think you should go into this one knowing as little as possible. O'Brien is fantastic. This guy is rising in the stocks of Hollywood. I loved his Dan Aykroyd. I loved him recently in Send Help. He's playing both twins. He does play both twins here. Um, Rocky, the twin who is deceased, he kind of is in flashbacks. This is mostly Roman, the twin who was alive, because of the support group. This is mostly his movie, and O'Brien is a ticking time bomb of his emotions. His anger, his rage is a way to basically mask the hurt and despair that he is going through, losing someone that is basically the mirror version of himself. But, it's not too much because Rocky is shown to be life of a party, very happy, even before the tragic circumstances of the movie. Roman is kind of dark and kind of in his feelings. I have Aisling Fenichozi. I sorry if I killed her name. She is usually a horror actress, and I've talked about her before. She is in movies that have dark themes or violence, but here she plays someone with a sunny disposition. She plays the love interest of Roman, who also gets in between Dennis and Roman, and that snowballs into something incredibly, uncomfortable to watch. Yeah, I really liked her here. I think she should stick to this a little bit. I'm not saying she should exit the horror genre totally, but she is very, very good here. Sweeney crafts a solid story that he nicely guides us through, especially when this movie gets into rocky waters, and this movie does get a little dark at points. I love this film. It is definitely probably going to be at the end of the year list. for 2025. I recommend it totally. Please go check it out. You can find it on Hulu. I'm going to give this one a very strong and slightly missed the mark of, I was going to give this five, but I'm going to give this 4.5 out of five Dylan O'Brien hair pieces. Okay, so that does it for this episode. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate you letting me talk to you about what is hot in the movies, either at home or in, streaming. Remember, these are my thoughts on the films, but I'd love to hear from you all. Did you think Twin List sucked? Did you think it was a worthless piece of crap? Did you think Die My Love was pretentious and idiotic? Or maybe you loved Cleaner. Maybe you loved Cleaner. Or maybe you loved Anley. Either way, let me know below. Come to the website, cinephellas.com. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Next time, I will be talking about a movie. I'll be singling out one film from my list that stars one of the Lara Crofts that we have gotten in the cinematic universe of Hollywood. I'm not going to tell you which one it is, though. You're going to have to tune in next time. And once again, guys, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you all. And I'm Kevin, and cheers.